If you make music in a home studio, it's really easy to get lost in the details of what you're doing and forget some really important big picture stuff. This video exists to give you 5 reminders that both you and me can come back to once in a while to get ourselves back on track. Now, one of them is so easy to employ, even for beginners, it's crazy, and it will make a big difference to the quality of your mixes. We'll get onto that later, but first, this video is sponsored by DistroKid. Follow the VIP link in the description down below to get 7% off an already amazing price to distribute your music to the world. Reminder number 1 is you are making art. Now that may seem super obvious to you, or maybe even a little bit highbrow, but surely the ultimate goal of music is to affect human emotion in some way, to make people feel happy, sad, energized, relaxed, or maybe even angry. Now, in your home studio, you'll have a number of roles. You will be the artist and the producer making creative decisions, but you'll also be the cleaner, the accountant, and the engineer. And it's in that engineering role where you can really get lost sometimes. You can get so concerned about which EQ you should use, how your room treatment is affecting sound, and whether you should use oversampling or not, that you forget this big picture goal. So next time when you finally learn how to use compression and dialed in those settings, perhaps thanks to my recent series on compression, think about how that sound that you've created with those settings actually affects the listener in some way. How does it affect the art? It's important. This is what it's all about. Reminder number 2 is be a dictator. I know it's an uncomfortable thought, but to illustrate why I'm saying this, I'd like to introduce you to Roger. You've probably come across him on social media. Roger has had a home studio now for over 30 years, something he likes to remind us of quite often. And the thing about Roger is he knows about all that stuff in his studio. Not only does he know the specifications, but he actually understands the specifications. And we know he knows all about this stuff because his account on Gearsluts goes all the way back to 2002, and he's made thousands of posts about his stuff. Now, Roger seems to have 2 goals in life. The first one is to, well, know stuff. Somehow he believes that knowing all about stuff will help you to reach the soul of your listener a bit easier. Maybe he's right, maybe he's wrong. The second one is to make you feel bad about the choices you've made about your stuff. Now, I've got nothing against knowledge. What I do take issue with is someone using knowledge to make someone else feel small or inferior. Not cool, Roger. But here's the thing. You don't actually have to listen to Roger. It's your home studio. You get to make all the choices. If you want to mix on headphones, go for it. Want to use Rocket 8 monitors? Go for it. Don't want to have any sound treatment? Throw it away. Don't listen to Roger. He's not in charge. We don't even know what his music sounds like. And I'm going to leave you with this final thought about the Rogers of this world. This was said to me at uni years ago by a lecturer, and it always stuck with me. He said, Mike, remember, some people have 30 years of experience, and some people have 1 year of experience repeated 30 times. Food for thought. Number 3 is remember your strengths. Now, the reason I say this is because I think there's a massive expectation that we put on ourselves as home studio producers, if you like, especially when we've watched loads of videos from YouTubers who are extremely knowledgeable and skillful in certain areas. Remember, a lot of those people come from a background where they had one particular role to focus on in a professional environment. For you, however, as I mentioned earlier, you're not only the cleaner, the accountant, the engineer, the producer, and the artist, but you're also maybe the marketing person, etc. You're not going to be good at everything, but you will have some strengths. Perhaps you're not as good as Roger is at, I don't know, setting up the monitors in the correct position in your studio. But perhaps you're much better than Roger at writing lyrics. And to be honest with you, great lyrics are probably going to take you further with a listener than knowing exactly where to put those studio monitors. Not to say that's not important, by the way, before the comments come firing in. But I'd like you to sort of, I know this is a bit defeatist perhaps, I'd like you to lower your expectations a little bit. You're not going to know everything about everything, and I don't think it's a great goal to have. Now, to sort of super expose myself in this way, I would say, for example, I feel pretty confident in writing music. I would say that's one of my strengths. It kind of comes easy to me. But I don't think I'm a very good singer. I enjoy singing, but I don't think I'm very good at it. Now, in terms of music production, to be honest with you, I probably have a good basic grasp of it. But at the end of the day, I'm just like you. I'm a home studio producer. Like Roger, I've been doing it for a few years for sure, but I'm not a Grammy award-winning artist or producer or engineer in that way. I'm just making the best of what I've got, mostly for the enjoyment of making music. But it's important, as I say, to remember you do have strengths. Before you came to this and eventually you felt inferior because you don't know how a compressor works, I'll use that example again, well, you probably had a strength. Perhaps you're an amazing guitar player, or maybe you're really good at putting arrangements together. They're really important skills as well. If Winston Churchill were here, he might suggest one of his more famous quotes for reminder number 4, that being, perfection is the enemy of progress. This is so true. If you're finding that you're spending weeks or months pushing that fader up just a little bit for one mix and then revising it just a little bit for the next mix, and you're never getting your music out there, then you are stuck. You're in a kind of a paralysis, and it doesn't really help you to progress further, in my opinion. I think it's important to accept that you're currently at the limits of your skills and experience, and you will progress as time goes on, but not by continually trying to produce the same handful of songs. If you find that you've got a bunch of songs on your hard drive that nobody else has ever heard except for you in the studio, then I've got to say, my friend, I think you're in trouble, and you really need to deal with this quickly. So I'd like you to make a pledge, if you will, in the comments down below. If you haven't released music for a while, let me know in the comments down below and kind of make a pledge. Say something like, hey Mike, I promise you I will release some music in 2025. And I'm not just saying this because the sponsor of this video is DistroKid, and if you follow the link in the description down below, you will get 7% off your first year of membership. I'm saying this because I truly believe it. Once you release your music, it kind of frees you up for your next batch of music. It's out there. There's nothing you can do anymore. I mean, maybe you could do a remix. That's a little bit sort of naff, isn't it? Just get it out there. Look, people aren't judging you quite as much as you think they probably will. At the beginning, I promised to remind you of something which could have a massive impact on your mixes, and yet is so simple, even a complete beginner could implement it. But I've realized since then, I actually have another kind of bonus reminder related to this, which I'm going to sort of lump in with it. So the first part is, remember to take breaks. Yes, it's that simple, but it's incredibly powerful. We all suffer from ear fatigue. So whilst it may seem like a great idea to kind of slave away at a mix for hours on end, that's not really true. You tend to lose objectivity. Over the years, I've found time and time again that mix which I've finished at midnight after slaving away at the song all day long is generally not the final mix. The next morning when I fire up my system, I immediately hear what actually needs to be changed. So remember to take breaks. It's very, very important. Now, this other kind of bonus reminder is something that I mentioned years ago on my channel, and I always forget to do it. So this part of the video is for me. It's incredibly powerful. I suggest that while you're mixing, once in a while, you completely switch off your monitors. I'm not talking about your monitor speakers. Of course, you need those. Yeah, maybe you're using headphones. I'm talking about your screens, your computer screens. I've done this from time to time, and you will be so surprised how it changes the way you actually hear the mix. Now that you don't have that visual distraction, you really do hear the music in a different way, and it's incredibly powerful for fixing mixes. Remember, generally when people are listening to your music, they won't have that visual stimulation. So definitely worth trying. If you do try it and you really find that it sort of revolutionizes perhaps the way that you're hearing things, let me know in the comments down below. I love to hear if I'm giving you good advice. 5 reminders, well, it's probably not enough, so I'd like to make a follow-up video, but I'd like to make it based on your suggestions. So leave a comment down below about anything you think it's really important to remember in home studio production, and I'll make that video based on those comments. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm Mike. I hope you're well, and I'll see you in the next video.